Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. I'm Deanna. Nice to meet you. It's been such a long time. I feel like I have to reintroduce myself. It has been that long, hasn't it? Good to see everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me on a weird night. Let me get this camera down. As you can see, I'm in a weird place, in a weird chair. This is an alien landscape we've got going here. Um, Gosh, we haven't seen each other for quite a while. Before Cape Cod, right? I did record that, thank you, long video on the Cape, but it's been since before that we were live. Um, all I can say is this better be the last time in my life that I move, because this is awful. Look at, I'm gonna show you what's near me. It's absolutely bonkers, right? Like, it's absolutely bonkers. It's like insanity. And every room of the house is insanity, and we are nowhere near being ready to go. So it has been super stressful. I am sorry I haven't been here. This is where I love to be, but it has been a wildly crazy, stupid kind of time. And yeah, I haven't even called the schools yet to move the kids around from school to school. And you know where I'm headed this week? Sauter Village, right? So that's not really helping. Instead of being at home helping with this insane mess, I'm driving to Ohio, 17 hours each way. Woohoo! Will I see you there? That's the question. I will be there on Thursday and Friday, and that is all I can do this week. I have to head back. But in the meantime, if one of your rugs, if you're somebody who sent me a haunted rug book for the haunted rug exhibit, let me just get more comfortable. I don't want to, okay, being careful. Got a skirt on there. I was, I was being careful with what I was doing with my legs there. If you have a haunted rug in the haunted rug exhibit at Sauter Village this week, I'm doing the gallery talk. I think it's like, what is it, like 10 a.m. on Friday morning. And I'll see you there on Thursday if you're there on Thursday or Friday. And then I've got to head back because we really got to get this thing going. Our closing date is August 25th. And this room is about the most advanced in terms of like movement of junk, you know. Wow, I know probably everyone who's watching has moved before, and you remember, we won't stay on this subject long, you remember it was a nightmare, right? It is an absolute, no, I've never heard anyone say, you know, we moved last summer. It was such a rich and rewarding part of my life, right? We had such great rapport within the family. We were all getting along better than usual. It was wonderful. I've never heard that in my life. Oh man, all right, so let's come to the center, enjoy ourselves tonight, because, you know, I didn't think that I would be able to have a show for us until after I moved and after Sauter. I thought maybe during Sauter, because I will be traveling with Shannon Carter. She's coming from Maryland. I'm coming from Connecticut. We're doing one of these and meeting up somewhere in Pennsylvania, and then we'll travel together the rest of the way. But I thought I wasn't going to be able to come to you for quite a while, just because of the amount of time it takes to put content together, even for one show. And something happened. What happened was I got a notification on eBay for one of the searches that I always have in, something to do with hooked rugs, and this came up that I have never seen before in my life, and I could not find another copy. It looks boring like this, right? It looks like, blah, what is it, brown paper? Brown paper what? Firth presents. Firth presents. Colin Firth? Firth presents, and this is circa 1925. Firth presents International Hooked Floor Coverings. And I'm not even going to start, let me scoot closer here. I'm not even going to start on the text yet. But essentially, this is a book of, how many pages is this, I wonder? Maybe like 30, 35. You know, this is the 1925. This is like the glossy paper with these highly pixelized pictures. So it's almost like they're old-time photos, but they look more like graphic illustrations. You know what I mean? It's not great color. And I've blown them up in tonight's show as much as I can. But this is basically a catalog of hooked rugs, right? Hooked by someone somewhere. These are room-size rugs that were for sale through Firth, which appears to be a fine department store at the Firth Carpet Company, 295 Fifth Avenue, New York. So, and I'm going to say hello to everybody in just a second. we've had the conversation often. There have been within so many sources, and in person for me when I visit rugs in different places, the conversation has come up again and again about. It is a known fact that there were really large carpets made, hooked carpets made in the very early 20th century, and the question has always been, where were they coming from? And the answer is in part Firth. And it can't only be Firth, but this has come up a lot. I'm thinking of when I was in Cape May, right north of Boston, and I went to, which one was it? Cogswell Grant, and I took the house tour, and the super knowledgeable tour guide who took us through, we were looking at some room-sized hooked rugs, and he said, yeah, these are hooked rugs that are late 19th, early 20th century, hooked by hand, but by more than one person. And I thought, I've done some research on the Priscilla Turner Company in Turner Falls, Maine. Those are really punched, right? Those are done with like a shuttle punch and a machine of the owner's own invention. But those are a little bit different, and I've had such a hard time figuring out what companies employed people that made hand-hooked room-sized rugs. Here's one of them right here. So, hooray for ephemera. Without a document like this, and it's in such good condition too, it's such a small thing. This cost about $40 all in with shipping for me to get, but it's so worth it because it doesn't close this conversation, but it gets us further in this conversation because I keep wondering, where the hell did these rugs come from? Who's making rugs this size at any point in history? And it turns out this is one of the companies that was. So we're going to go rug by rug tonight. And because this is out of copyright at this time, so I feel I can read directly from it to you. A company also appears to be out of business. I might be wrong about that. I forgot to check, actually. If anyone has time to check, see if Firth is still in business at 295 Fifth Avenue. I feel like I would have seen it at some point if it was at 295 Fifth Avenue. Interesting. So we're going to go rug to rug and talk about the inspiration. There's not very many rugs in this book. There's probably 15, maybe 12. And we're going to look at them and talk about the inspiration because there has been a story created for each one. You decide if it's a real story or not. And I'm going to read some of the stories to you, which is almost going to be like a story hour. And then let's look at the rugs because these really are a moment in history. This is going to be a great reference for us. When you see crazy large rugs in the future and you're thinking, is that a commercially made rug? What is that? We now have a new category of rug that we can consider. Commercially made rugs, right, that are usually loomed and not hand hooked at all, or hand hooked rugs that are made by an individual person or a couple of people in a hooking bee situation. And the third category is handmade, commercially made domestic rugs that are not loomed, that are hooked. And these rugs fit into that category. And I don't have another document that shows us rugs that fit into that category. So this is really exciting. And this is a huge breakthrough. I am happy that you are here for this. A lot of buddies on tonight. Karen, it's great to see you. Cheers, my dears. I am drinking water. I'm very highly keyed. I don't dare touch anything other than water tonight. I am already crazy. But that red wine looks great, I gotta say. Sheila, great to see you in Ohio. Sheila, will I see you next week? It's coming up so soon. I am leaving on Wednesday, and we will arrive. We will be there all day on Thursday. So I'd love to connect with people who are going. Carol, great to see you. Cheryl on the Cape, great to see you. Cheers, my dears. Cheers, everyone, after a lot of beautiful beach days. I know it, right? A lot of beautiful beach days. Oh, my gosh. I have another thing to tell you, but I'll tell you in a little while. Becky, cheers, my dears. Good to see you in Indiana. I'm going to see you this week, right? And Courtney, great to see you. Welcome back. Hello. Judy, hello, hello, and good evening from Pennsylvania. Judy, will I see you this week? Thinking of everyone who's in that corner of the world there. Carol, great to see you. I can relate to the mess. We are also moving, and the house is chaos. It is chaos. Carol, do you also have that feeling that you love everything you have ever had, bought, hoarded, found, and collected, but you'd be totally at peace with setting it all on fire, like now? That's the sort of pressing feeling that I've had for days, is like, let's just get rid of it. Let's just make it go away like it never existed. Of course, I'm not going to do that because this is all treasure stuff that I have. Everything that's not a treasure, I've already thrown out before the last move. So I'm not going to set anything on fire, but man, it's tempting. This is a nightmare. Oh, all right. Joe, great to see you in Perth. Great to see you. Welcome back in Australia. Mom, you made your way on. It was great seeing you today, too. We were at the service today together. This was one of the days in church this morning where we had a chant service. It was a bit of Eastern religion this morning, and there was a chant service, and I learned a lot about chakras and yoga in the original sense of the word. And I was one of the chanters who was leading on some of these beautiful songs, some in a Christian tradition, some of them in an Eastern tradition, some of them completely pagan. They were all such beautiful songs. It was such a gorgeous service. And another woman who was there plays the singing bowls and the crystal pyramid. I know it sounds new agey and crazy, and if you're not used to this stuff, it's like, who would want to do, but once you are doing it, I have to say it really was magical. It was such a nice way to spend the morning. Happy that we were together, Mom. And you have the remaining Bloody Mary because I drank the other one last night. She has those canned Bloody Marys that are so strong and so spicy. They are wonderful. Sandy, great to see you. I miss you all too. I really do. This is how I get back to my center. But it has just been impossible lately. I am so sorry. I'm so happy to be back now. And wait till you see, I will set up my studio space in the new house, and we will have our mantle back where we can have decorations in the different seasons and holidays, and it'll be just like old times forever. Gail, good morning. Also in Australia, great to see you. Gail and Joe are saying hi to each other. Catherine, great to see you. Just starting up. You are good. Wendy, thank you so much for the note you sent me. I'm sorry I haven't written back yet, but it meant a lot to me. Thank you so much. Moving is hard. My daughter is closing on a house next week. I've been helping her go through stuff. Woo! Yeah. Woo! Sharon, great to see you. Good evening. Wine for you. Cheers, Midges. I'll do cheers even though I have something boring. Sheila, you can't go this year. Another time, right? And another time for sure. And Joyce, I'm hoping that I can connect with you on the way there, so I'll figure that out. That's the next thing that happens in my brain. I had to get through the service today. And then tomorrow and Tuesday, I am sort of free, right? I'm busy. I'm filling some orders. The kids are having friends over. And obviously I'm packing. But then my brain will be free as soon as I hit that next crazy hurdle. Doris says, hello, Doris. Hello from high temps in Missouri. It is hot again, isn't it? That pendulum swung again, and it is like really, really hot here. 90 degrees today. Karen says, I just did a quick search, and the building at 295 Fifth Avenue is a 17-story, 700,000 square foot building originally built as a textile hub. That must have been Firth. Interesting. Can you tell whether there's a name on the building still? See, it might say Firth, but I'm not sure whether they're actually still there or they would have stamped the building originally somehow. I'm going to have to walk by that next time we're there, which will be soon after we move. Mary Lou, great to see you. You moved twice in 1 year. Okay, well, that's an inspiration. I'm going to stop complaining. I'm going to stop complaining because if you could do that, I'm going to stop complaining. It can be done, I know. It's one of those things you do, hold your breath, right, and get through it. It's like Robert Frost said, right? The only way to get around it is to go through it. So, yeah, there is no skirting it. There's just through it. And then once I get through it, I'm probably going to close off that room in my brain and never think of it again because it's so bad. Jessica, great to see you. I know I'm going to see you next week. Great to see you. Listen, before we open this fantastic catalog that is going to be such a lot of fun to look at together, I want to put it out there. I have not had time to make the poster yet, but save the date. I have the Halloween party ready. I was getting Karen says AI said that Firth did not come up as part of the building. Yeah. Interesting. The little research project there. Karen, thank you so much. So a lot of people are writing and saying, what are we doing for Halloween this year? Will there be a party? Because there was a Halloween party last year when the Haunted Rug book came out, except remember the book did not come to the party. because I didn't get my copies in time. Fantastic. We still had a wonderful party at the Red Lion Inn in Stockbridge. Now, that was wonderful. I think quite a few of us, I would say a couple dozen of us at least, stayed for a night or two or a week in some cases. Some people came by plane. There were some Canadians there. Michelle came from Texas. Becky came from Indiana. There were some long trips that made it there, and I really appreciated it. Marty, great to see you. I almost said happy Friday, but happy Sunday this time. Um, so, we did it. It was great. And then I got really busy and I was afraid I wouldn't be able to find another place for our next Halloween party. Because if you are in this part of the country, you probably know that Heavens to Betsy, the brand, this is the first year they are not having their Halloween party. Last year was the last one. For that group, and they are in the corner of New York that is right alongside Massachusetts, the Berkshire side. So I planned a party. I went this past week. I went on Monday. As soon as I got back from the Cape, I went that first day out to Lenox, Massachusetts, and I visited a couple of places, but I checked out this church building called the Church on the Hill. It's not actually on a hill. It's level on Main Street, right in the center of town. Tons of street parking, tons of parking lots, all free parking. Absolutely beautiful. The church is right on the village green in the center of this busy, classic New England village. This time it's Lenox. Last time it was Stockbridge. Lenox is about, I would say, 4 times the size of Stockbridge. It is tiny. It is tiny. And everything 10 minutes away from the Norman Rockwell Museum and all of the stuff you enjoyed last year. But it is such a cute place and it's perfect for us, and it's way more economical this year, so I can bring the ticket price down. So I don't have a Halloween book coming out this year, but we will have a wonderful party. I will have to cap it at about 60, just because of this space. I'm going to take the whole fellowship hall, which is on the lower level. It has a huge kitchen attached to it. So I'm thinking about food, if I'm going to have it catered or I'm going to do it piecemeal. I'll figure all that out later. But there's a beautiful room down there where we can seat probably, I would say, 40 to 50 people. And I'm also going to take a second room that is upstairs that is a beautiful, this is like a Victorian era church. It's got like the painted buttresses, like it's white with kind of celery colored walls, and the floor is painted with a labyrinth, which I thought was very mystical and magical, particularly around Halloween for a Halloween party. So I'm going to rent that second room as well, because in that second room will go at least 4 vendors, a much bigger display than last year, so you can bring your rug and put it up there for us to see as well. And we can probably fit another 20 or 30 people up there. So we'll see how it goes. But it will happen. Save the date, and I'll get the poster ready hopefully this week. Save the date, Friday, October 24th, because the 31st, Halloween, is a Friday, the following Friday. So October 24th, Friday, and let's say 11 till 4. And if you're a vendor, it'll be 10. We'll go in there at 10 and start setting up. But if people can start arriving 11 till 4, we'll have a nice stretch. It's going to be a wonderful time. I've got some games brewing for us, not standing up games, but like trivia games and stuff to look at. I'm looking at prizes, gifts, things like that, some fun stuff that we can do. So put it on your calendar. That'll be there for you. I'll be there at least one day before, if not 2, and probably one day after, to do all of those beautiful autumnal, uniquely New England things that are up there, right? All of the different museums, the art museums, all the cultural stuff that's there, the Shaker thing that's there, the Rockwell thing, all the corn mazes, all those little village centers to shop, all those pretty white churches and the fall festivals and all of that stuff that's going on. It's waiting for you. October 24th, Friday. It's a Friday. So be looking for that. That is 100%. I signed the contract. So 100%, I'm working on getting that poster out, but it's going to be a beautiful event, and I hope that you can come. And I'll give you some ideas for places to stay as well. So there are tons of bed and breakfasts, chain hotels, and also really fine hotels there as well. Like it's a Gilded Age destination. So if you have like infinite deep pockets, then you might be looking at some of the really beautiful old Gilded Age mansions that have been converted into hotels, and there's beautiful B&Bs that are at a much lower price point. There's the old inn in the next town, the Red Lion, of course, that is more, but it is beautiful. It's a destination. There's a lot of Airbnbs and there's a lot of chain hotels, and they are beautiful too. So lots of choices. So let's come back together. Joe said, when I was in Cheticamp, I saw room size rugs at Les Trois Pignons Rug Hooking Museum. They said in the 1920s, a woman from New York, Lillian, yeah, that's Lillian Burke, had groups of women hook rugs she sold in New York. Yeah, that's Lillian Burke, Burke. And there is a biography on her out that is absolutely wonderful. If you Google Lillian Burke rug hooking, that book will come out. And we covered it here on this channel. So you can always go back and type in Lillian Burke. I did at least 2 episodes covering that book because it was a great story. It was kind of a mission, like a rug mission for profit. It was a great story. Yeah, they did large rugs too. This is a little different because these are commercial rugs to order. So let's dig into this, and I'm going to read you some of the text in here that I think is a lot of fun. So on the very first page, it's a very nice catalog that they've put together. The Firth Carpet Company, 295 Fifth Avenue, New York. In a pioneering effort to discover patterns for reproduction in a series of hooked rugs, which should be genuinely new, Firth, through its representatives, literally went on a pilgrimage of inspiration. This book presents in picture and text the fascinating fruits of that world-girdling, let's never say world girdling again. Not only is it a tongue twister, it just sounds gross, doesn't it? That the fruits of that world girdling journey, both in space and time. Well, the copy in here, you just got a tiny taste of it. The copy in here is crazy. So, it's not just a case of it's a different period in time. They might be overselling a little bit. We'll see. I'm so jealous. Oh, Gail, I wish you could come too. I so wish you could come. One of these days, maybe. So, okay, I won't read all of these, but they are quite charming, and they do sort of set the tone for this whole book. It is, just in terms of the aesthetic of it, it is a very Deco era book, right? We've got these sort of pretty, a lot of metallic stuff, but pretty borders on the pages, right? Very subdued, very measured, right? It's not a crazy Victorian sort of overdone feeling. It's a very controlled tone. Where the quest for beauty led, truly has it been said that in its patterning, a rug is a human document wherein are recorded the joys and sorrows, the loves and hates, the beliefs and triumphs and disappointments of its designer. That the rug itself constitutes a composite picture of these things, translated into wool. Thus, figuratively speaking, we scratch a motif and draw blood. Recognizing, in the face of the steadily growing popularity of the hooked rug, the crying need for interesting provincial designs which should be not mere further repetitions from the same restricted source of inspiration, but which should mirror this homely art, as it was practiced the world over in an elder day. Firth's representatives penetrated into the remote corners of the earth. Wow, that sounds painful, doesn't it? Firth's, after months of patient search, aided by an occasional happy accident, they returned with a collection of masterpieces of peasant handcraft shown in recreation in these pages. Roving the world around, from the sea-lashed coasts of Nova Scotia to the seldom visited mountain fastnesses of Tibet. Fastnesses? Do they mean fastnesses? Fastnesses of Tibet, land of mystery. These representatives met with many a strange and fascinating adventure, often not unmixed with personal danger, and uncovered more than one tender or tragic story, woven, as it were, into the very texture of the patterns they found. This book records some of these adventures of discovery and relates a few of the romances symbolized in the rugs themselves, which are now made available to you. Now, come on, laying it on rather thick, don't you think? So I would venture to say, I haven't read any of this yet. I just flipped through it. I would venture to say that there were no trips made. I'm thinking that somebody sat in an office and wrote every single one of these chapters. So I won't read the next part because we just won't have enough time, but it goes on to talk about the romance of discovery and more along the same lines, not much different. So it seems to me like what they are presenting is a book of designs that says, oh, Karen says, Firth Company previously had a presence in the United States, including a location in Firthcliffe, Cornwall on Hudson. I love that town, which operated from 1886 to 1962. That is so fun. That was one of the first places I went on a B&B with a young boyfriend in the early dating days. Very pretty area out there. That's great information. I'm so glad that I bought this, and I'm so happy to share it because it's interesting. So the idea is, for example, let me show you. It's definitely not AI writing style. No, it's not. I'll show you the first one, then I'm going to make a funny comment. And I'm not being sort of wry. I mean, this is exactly the way that copy was written, in the Deco period. This is how it was done. It was very appealing to people. People had serious wanderlust at this time, right? We were just past the First World War. They didn't know that we were right on the doorstep of another World War coming soon, coming soon to a theater near you. And it was a tough transition time. People had serious wanderlust, and we were already past that gilded age, the excessive sort of age of the incredible sort of wealth, right? American wealth, like nobody had ever seen before and has not seen since. People making the kind of money that is just unthinkable, right? We are just past that age because that age ended around 1911 with the sinking of the Titanic, right? And financially things were shifting in the wrong direction. But there was a moment in the 1920s where everyone was kind of sitting tight. The world was changing fast, and the idea of doing like the grand tour, only the upper class was traveling, number one, and only the very upper class was doing like the grand tour. So while people were starting to take vacations, like day vacations, like, and maybe some of you remember this from your parents or your grandparents, it wasn't that long ago in the 20th century that your vacation in the summer would be like a one-day train ride somewhere. Like that was the vacation. It was not like we're taking a week off and we're going to the Cape. It was like we're taking our vacation, we're taking the train on Saturday morning, going to the beach, and we're coming back Saturday night. And that is our outing for the summer, right? You will have other days off, but not necessarily to take an outing. So people really had wanderlust, and there was this huge desire to know more about foreign places, right? Living vicariously. This is why the Vogue covers at that time were so exotic, because people had such a lust for exotica. They longed to see things, and they were squarely stuck in a place where, they were going to soon hit the Depression as well. Life was going to get worse before it got better. So storytelling was a big deal, and living vicariously was the only way travel was done for the average person. So in this book, it'll show you, for example, an image like, and I'll just show you the cover picture one more time that I used. This is the sort of entree end page picture that I used for our thumbnail for this. I blew it up hugely so you can see the kind of printing this is. This is like a dot pattern print. This is not a sophisticated print yet. Mark, great to see, Susan, it's you, great to see you in Tibet. Fastnessness referred to the traditional fortresses known as, now watch me crucify this word, zongs? Is it a D silent, zongs? Thank you. So that is, I should have known that it was correct. This is very persnickety writing, isn't it? Beautiful image, and you can see what they're trying to put across to you is a comfortable but cozy, warm feeling room, right? We're not looking for something Victorian that has like really ostentatious decoration. That's not what people are looking for at this time. They're looking for something that is much more sort of subdued, very sort of sober decoration, cheerful, but not obnoxious. And that's just what we're seeing here. We are seeing unusual colors, right? People are interested in offbeat colors during the Deco period. We're seeing this golden rug that looks like a hit or miss rug, and purple furniture with pink and cornflower blue cushions, right? And the wall looks like kind of a buttermilk color. So it is colorful, but it's a very specific color palette. Interesting, right? Karen says Firth was established in the late 19th century by Sir Thomas Firth, and a contemporary UK brand. Firth carpets known for custom designed floor coverings. So this is what they did. So that's interesting to know that they're known for custom floor coverings, because the rugs in this book are custom, but you choose them. So there, and I don't know, custom is a shapeshifter of a word, right? Because you could say, in theory, I would like something custom. Could you make me a rug that looks like the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel? That's custom. But you could also say, I'm looking at your catalog, I would like the Halifax on page 2. That's also custom. So yeah, the more things I can pick up about the Firth Company, I will certainly pick up. Good information. So for example, they're showing you the Halifax. Let's look at the Halifax first. Now get ready for the limited sort of color that's coming at you in terms of imagery. This is a very high quality photo, right? This is as high a quality photo I can get from this image. So this rug is called the Halifax. It doesn't say what size it is. You can see that it's large, and I'm guessing you could say what size you wanted it to be. So this is the Halifax. This design, it says, taken from an original owned by a Yarmouth fisherman, this would be Yarmouth, UK, is characteristic of the strength of the sea and its sturdy people, and notwithstanding its frankly crude coloring. Uh-oh. The elemental urge for beauty is equally apparent and typifies the unpretentious environment of the fisherman's cottage. Well, that is all very patronizing, isn't it? So this is the Halifax, and this is a close-up of the Halifax. I'm going to read you the story of the Halifax in just a minute, but I just want to say to you what this looks like to me, and you tell me how you feel. What this looks like to me is a design that is made up of an existing rug or something damn close to an existing rug, and then in every alternating checkerboard box, it's a breakdown of 6 motifs that match that rug, right? We are seeing the same rug in every other box, and it would be almost a full-size rug, like a welcome mat sized rug. Interesting, isn't it? So let me come back to the larger rug, and because now you know color-wise what it looks like. And this is what this chapter says. Are you ready? The story of how the finding of an unusual home woven rug inspired the Halifax hook. Sundown of the third cold, fruitless day of search brought a Firth artist from Cape Sable along, oh, this is Canada, not the UK, along the southern coast of Nova Scotia to the eternally sea-beaten town of Yarmouth, the rugged character of the country following him to the very door of the fisherman's cottage, where it had been suggested he'd spend the night. Once inside, sorry, I'm just shifting in my chair, come closer to you. Once inside, the hospitable coziness warmed his soul, and the colorful bits of hand craftsmanship which glowed against the background of the sturdily hewn interior fired his imagination. After dinner, which was I don't know this word, reviation to the palate. Gosh, I don't know that word, sorry. He recalled the purpose of his journey, and he broached the subject to the rugged couple, his hosts for the night. Did they know of anyone among their acquaintances who might have something interesting in embroidery, or a bit of weaving, or, so I'm very close to you now, or a bit of weaving, or, so they're looking for any kind of textiles that they can copy, right? That's what it sounds like. Or a bit of weaving, perhaps, or a homemade rug, which he might see with a view to purchasing. These modest, right? What a picture they're painting. These modest, self-effacing people, like so many of their countrymen whom he had previously questioned, could suggest nothing more inspiring than a visit to the local dry goods store. Discouraged somewhat, and certainly tired and weary, our artist asked for his bed. He followed the island of light that surrounded his host as he mounted the creaking stairs to the guest room of this simple cottage. In a few moments, sleep shut out the cares of the day. A bright, revealing morning sun awakened our treasure seeker and quickened his pulse, for there, glowing in the morning light, was a hooked rug of the most unusual character. Getting down on his knees, he examined it closely. Here indeed was a find. It was woven, now we know it wasn't woven if it was a hooked rug. It was woven with extreme care. The colors were blended with courage and dexterity, and the evenness of the workmanship convinced our artist it was the product of a natural, old-time craftsman. Would they part with this treasure? The thought that they might not caused him to pause. Inquiry brought forth that this rug was a cherished heirloom of the husband's family, made many years ago by his great-grandmother. It was the first luxury the family had indulged in after its early struggles of the hard pioneer days of homemaking. It was regarded with something akin to reverence, and nothing would persuade them to part with it permanently. Finally, however, in their homely kindness, they agreed that he could take it for a time for reproduction in the Firth line of international hooked floor coverings, but only under such a guarantee as would protect an emperor's ransom. Gosh! I mean, this is really charming, isn't it? I am, yeah, it's a little tongue-in-cheek. I am, exaggerating a little bit. This is all the text. This is the text exactly as it is. But, is this a true story? You decide. You be the one to decide. But it is a charming story. And like all the chapters in this book, we see it presented like this. And when he woke up and the morning sun was ablaze, our weary treasure seeker, falls down on his knees, and there is the most extraordinary, humble, right, rustic rug that they have ever seen. And I'm thinking that the rug is the interior pattern, right, one of the two repeats. I don't think it is the whole rug. I think it's just the welcome mat that you're seeing, right, because why would it be anything else? But you can see that the overall look of the rug is just a repeat. It is very, very large. It looks more like a loomed rug, partly because of the scale, but partly because of the repeat pattern. We don't see repeats done this frequently in rug hooking because we don't see rugs of this size in rug hooking. So an interesting rug. Let's move on to the next one. I'm going to bring you to the next extraordinary rug, and I'll first show it to you on the page here. It is called, this chapter is called, The Story of the Finding of an Antique Ceremonial Embroidery, which inspired the Tenosian Isle. So this rug is called the Tenosian Isle. And again, it looks like, the page looks like this. They're showing us a little soldier this time instead of a sea captain. Is it a soldier? No, it's a peasant. It's a peasant. It's a peasant in peasant garb. Now, funnily enough, the peasant garb is like something more that's from like this, early 1700s, but details, the details. So, so let's hear about what's going on here. And let me show you this rug while I tell you. Now, you know what this reminds me of? Do you remember, I don't think it exists anymore, but do you remember years ago, maybe 20 years ago, what was it called? Peterman, something Peterman Company catalog? Do you remember? I lived for that thing to come. That was the most brilliant piece of advertising I have ever heard of. If you don't remember, it was a catalog that was very small. It was kind of small like this, but it was long and skinny. It was probably skinnier. It was a very irregular size. And in it, it was the same premise as the Firth Company here. The idea was that Peterman was telling you that, he had gone out on these expensive travels all around the world, and he had found such items of clothing. I mean, it was like the, Napoleon's breeches, right? He was like busy smelling them somewhere. He found them and he recreated them for you. And then he went somewhere else and he found like the necktie that, Da Vinci wore. And then he went somewhere else and he found like Mark Twain's white coat, in a ball, like at the laundromat. And it was insane. Like it was really far fetched, but it was understood that it was fiction. And each chapter was like they would tell you this incredible story about this garment, and you'd be like, oh God, of course I want to wear something that Princess Caribou wore. Like obviously I want to wear the same skirt. And they didn't show you any of the clothing as a photograph. It was all watercolored, and they would show a watercolor of it. And for example, if they wanted to show you Princess Caribou's skirt, it was the way that it was watercolored was so beautiful. Like it was in itself this amazing piece of art, and the way that it flowed and it shone and the beads on it and everything else. It was like everything in that catalog was very expensive. And in those days, I was like a size 0, and I would order, and there's like no returning stuff. I would order stuff and I would get it home, even being a tiny miniature person, and nothing ever looked good. Like nothing. Tops, bottoms, even like backpacks, they sold backpacks and boots. Nothing ever looked good on me. And I mean, I had no extra body weight at all in those days. Nothing looked good. But it was, but you would buy something, and even if you looked like a sack of potatoes in it, you would happily wear it because of this story that was attached to it. The whole time I'd be wearing this stupid skirt, looking like, I was in a potato sack, hopping contest. I would be thinking, oh God, do I look like Princess Caribou tonight, don't I? And you'd feel great about what you had on. It was so much fun. Yes, Wendy, you remember Peterman's? Oh, that's right, Elaine on Seinfeld. I completely forgot that. And was it really him too? Do you know? I feel like it was as part of the show. I completely forgot that. I do remember there was at Peterman's when you came out of Grand Central Station. There was one right there on that first block. It was attached to the station, and I loved when that opened up because I could go in there and actually try stuff on. Because again, nothing was cheap, but it was the romance of having somebody tell you a story about something. It made you want it even more. You were so committed to these, as Wendy says, wonderful stories. You got so invested in them, and you wanted to live them. And they were a fiction, so you couldn't, but you could wear the skirt. It made you feel a little bit like you were living in that story. It really was wonderful. That's exactly what's going on here with this Firth catalog. So let's look at this next rug, and right here, this one is called the Tenosian Isle, and it's described as the famous green marble, which is the heart of the idyllic island of Tinos in the Mediterranean Sea, contributed its character to this truly lovely design adapted from a community-owned piece of Tunisian embroidery made by a craftsman long dead. The design reflects the ever-changing, restless sea with its gold, lyric, greens, and sapphire blue, accentuated by exotic blossoms, enclosed within interlaced basketwork squares. We'll look at it close up in just a second. The story of finding this antique. Legend, substantiated by archaeological study, has established the island of Tinos off the coast of Greece as a site of the main temples of the now long extinct sect of beauty worshippers. Their cult, which was founded upon the principle that any expression of beauty should be venerated, had a ritual which was attended by ceremonials of great magnificence, in which beautiful maidens, this better not be gross, right? Beautiful maidens and youths took part. The few fragments of their robes, vestments, and sacrificial utensils, now in museums, show an amazing skill of craftsmanship and a deep sense of the beautiful. In 1854, Sir Charles Keating led an expedition under the auspices of Oxford University to the island and unearthed many treasures dating back to and evidently utilized by these people in the practice of their cult. This was the last organized attempt to bring light to bring to light the beautiful mysteries of this ancient isle, so famed for the green marble which forms its heart. The present inhabitants of Tinos are superstitious and not at all interested in discussing the site of these ancient temples or the people who built them, and are especially careful to stay away from them after dark. It was in the hope that he might secure some overlooked piece of art that brought a Firth representative to this island. His fruitless inquiry from the natives had regarded the inquiry from the natives was regarded with suspicion. So, undauntedly leaving the little coast town behind him, he pushed on, guideless, through the underbrush toward the still producing quarries from which these vanished people had taken the marble for their temples. Glinting through the trees, he could see the ruins ahead. But he did, you know what this sounds like? I'm enjoying this so much. I mean, I have not had time to read fiction for a long time. This is pretty good stuff. Do you ever read Mary Stewart these days? Because I mean, it is like it's not highbrow reading, right? And I'm not a highbrow reader, but Mary Stewart, if you remember, she wrote some books like The Dogs of Tinos. What is it? The one with the windmill that was the Haley Mills movie. The Moon Cussers, maybe the Moon Cussers. Um, she did. So I'll look up some of her books. Mary Stewart. If you haven't read her for a while, some are better than others. They've all been reprinted recently. There's romances, so be careful. If you like romances, they're good for romances. But she's got thrillers too, which are also romances. But they have this element of mystery. I got to look it up right now. I got to say, and if you listen to audiobooks, I have to say, Mary Stewart. Um, I have enjoyed like listening to her books on Audible so much. I read all of her books years ago. Touch Not the Cat. Okay, she's got some sort of sci-fi ones too, so be careful about that. The Crystal Cave, you would know that's like an Arthurian saga. Let me see if any. Rose Cottage, that one was fantastic. I loved that. It is a bit of a romantic story with a little bit of mystery. Rose Cottage was great. Airs Above Ground was pretty good. This Rough Magic was another good one. The Moon Spinners, that was it. The Moon Spinners. Nine Coaches Waiting. I think that one was more like romance. Madam, Will You Talk? That was another great one. My Brother Michael. These are almost like the Daphne du Maurier's, like My Cousin Rachel, right? It's the same kind of writing as Daphne du Maurier. So if you like Daphne du Maurier and you love like Jamaica Inn, obviously Rebecca, you will also love Mary Stewart, right? It's the same kind of voice, it's the same kind of writing, and it's the same period of writing as well. These are Mary Stewart's are a little bit lighter, but they're on a par. Yeah, The Beach House, I enjoyed that one as well. Anyway, The Gabriel Hounds, The Ivy Tree, both of those were very, very good. Anyway, it's this kind of atmosphere, like this kind of exotica, that you feel like you're traveling through a 1960s Disney movie, usually featuring Haley Mills, right? It's this kind of atmosphere. That's what this story, I think all the Firth stories have that aura to them. So let's see what happens next, because it sounds rather hopeless right now, doesn't it? Let me bring you a close-up of this, and let's see what happens in this crazy story. So, glinting through the trees, he could see the ruins ahead. Bum, bum, bum. But he did not want to spend the night there, and walking as rapidly as the underbrush would permit, in no particular direction, until just before nightfall, he saw a light. It came from a cabin built of wood and fragments of marble from one of the ruins. He knocked. It seemed that hours passed before the door was haltingly opened. In the doorway, framed in a square of light, stood a very, very old man of distinguished bearing. This old gentleman addressed his caller in Greek, and then, oh, this sounds very lucky, and then seeing that he did not understand, he asked in English, "Are you English or American? French, perhaps?" "American, sir," answered the Firth man in relief. "Come in." After mutual introductions, it developed that the old man was a member of Sir Charles's expedition, who, falling in love with the ruins and believing they contained much of value as yet untouched, chose to stay and carry on his researches alone. Unable to obtain any cooperation from the natives, sorry about that, he continued his quest unaided. "Have you ever found anything?" asked the traveler. This request brought forth from a large chest many ancient utensils, some of alabaster, some of beaten metals, set with semi-precious stones, a few fragments of furnishings, and above all a piece of gossamer linen so handsomely embroidered as to bring gasps of astonishment from the traveler. Noticing the enrapt gaze of his visitor, the old man said, "Yes, I regard that as my most valuable find. Rarely does a fabric retain its beauty and true character for so many years. This piece, evidently part of a virgin's ceremonial robe, was preserved by being hidden in a vault in which a vacuum had been created by the settling of the ruins." Well, that's also very lucky, isn't it? And as to how the Firth representative took the old man to Athens with his treasures, the tedious negotiating with the Greek Bureau of Antiquities, and the ultimate lending of the fabric for copy to the Firth Carpet Company as an inspiration for the Tenosian Isle pattern, would over-lengthen the telling of the adventure. Suffice to say that this beautiful rug is a worthy art adaptation of a romantic design which inspired it. Well, another absolutely beautiful story, right? Absolutely precious story. Now you can see, let's go back to the larger rug. You can see another large scale rug, right, that could be made custom design. There's nothing about sizes or prices in this. Well, you know what, having said that, let me just check the back because there is an insert. Okay, so there's a selection. So there is an insert at the back, nothing about prices at all. So this is what the insert looks like in case, you know, we'll probably never see another copy of this. So here it is. If you want to screenshot it or make a copy, right? Here's this, and it says, it goes through what all of the rugs are called. So we did Halifax, and now we're doing Tenosian Island. That says the name of the pattern, and it gives you choices of rug sizes. For example, 27 by 52, 36 by 63. 4 foot 6 inches by 6 foot, and then just bigger and bigger all the way to 9 foot by 12 foot. So, and then there's smaller rugs that we'll see at the end of it. So, yeah. And you know, when it says, you can see, it says from each one in the graph, like for example, the Halifax only comes in the top row in 2 sizes. You see what I mean? And we haven't done the Downeaster yet, but the Tenosian comes in almost every size save 3, right? So you can see different rugs in different sizes. Now, there is math. Talk about genius advertising. I know it, right, Karen? There is math to the rugs, right? All of them have geometry. They have blocks, right? So you can't recreate the block. You have to recreate it X amount of times, right? You wouldn't do like and a half or and a third. So they do, not all of them can make every size. And that, I'm sure, has all been cleverly figured out. Now, when we look at this rug, Tenosian Isle, hold on one second. I think I have one more close-up. Yeah, I do. So this is an extreme close-up, and again, this is what the printing looks like. You can see it's made up of a series of blocks, and you can see there are 3 patterns. So there are never more than 3 patterns. These are the 3 patterns. The one you're seeing in the center of this block is the one that occurs the most infrequently, and the others occur equally, right, in every other block. So this is the way the pattern runs. You can see, right, as the story goes, there is a very fine textile that was taken from a virgin's garment. But, I mean, honestly, this looks like an old hooked rug, doesn't it? I mean, it looks just like an old hook rug. A little bit of an embroidery feel to it, right? It looks like there could be a little needlework or sort of Persian chain stitching or whatever. But it definitely looks like a textile of utility. Oh, my husband's cooking and it's causing some smoke. utilitarian nature, right? But you can see in this close-up how this would really lend itself in a large-scale hooked rug to hit or miss, because you can see that the framework on it is hit or miss. And we're used to seeing geometrics that have like floral motifs inside of them, and this is certainly one of those. And the backgrounds are done in hit or miss too. So unlike some of the others, this one really truly looks like a hooked rug. It's just in terms of scale, when you look at it from a distance, it's less recognizable. But the closer you get, the more you think, okay, this is very familiar, right? This is what we do. So that is the Tenosian Isle. Now we're going to come to this one next. I tipped this one on its side. It's funny because this next one is called Beneath the Cliffs of Dover. And here's the story. I'll share that in a second. So on this side, of course we're looking at the western side of England. We're looking at the White Cliffs of Dover. No, it's not the western side. It's the southern side. We're looking at the White Cliffs of Dover as they are, and local fisherman at Dover. And you can see in this one, they are only showing us a corner of it, which is curious. They do this twice in the book. Why are they only showing us a corner of it? But let me show you what that corner looks like. And let's look at the white. So I have it tipped on its side just so you can see it larger on your screen. So the story of the seaman's treasure, which furnished the inspiration for the Dover hook. The youngest son of 7 stalwart boys, with which the Lord blessed the vicar of a little cliff-hanging English village, chose the sea. All the efforts and pleadings of his doting father to persuade this favorite son to follow a profession or to develop his artistic talent and take up a life on shore were of no avail, and the unhappy father, knowing the fickleness of Mother Sea, sadly watched his son's ship sail down the horizon. Years of exciting and dangerous voyage were behind the sailor when he finally returned to his house. His father was dead and his family scattered. Permanently crippled by an accident before the mast, he could no longer do heavy active work, so an old love of the artistic and beautiful began to demonstrate itself. How those poor old gnarled hands could turn out the beautiful work for which he was responsible was a marvel to those who knew him. He maintained himself well, and even had enough over to establish a ship-like little home where he kept open house for old seafarers like himself, now ashore to rest. People came from long distances to procure pieces of his handcraft, quaint carved ship models, and choicely made hooked rugs, fashioned in unusual designs symbolic of the sea. There was one piece in particular which attracted the eye of every prospective purchaser, but with which he would never part. It was one of his first efforts, and the one he considered his best. It had moons and stars and other things the sailor sees on summer nights at sea. The balance and charm of the design was at once apparent, and eager buyers went away disappointed by his refusal to sell it. But man proposes and God disposes. The old sailor passed away, and he left such of the world's chattels with which he was blessed to the maintenance of the little harbor, and as he so fondly called the sailor's refuge, which he had established. With no money coming in, a few years sufficed to eat up what was left of it, and it became necessary to dispose of the place in all it contained. A Firth representative, ever searching for the unusual and beautiful for Firth's international hooked rug floor coverings, was most gratified to obtain the sailor's most prized possession, the hooked rug he had so long refused to sell. You will find it an intriguing design, beautifully expressed in the Firth reproduction known as the Dover hook. And here it is. You can see the stars, the moon, I guess. I am seeing on the top, the second from the left, that three-pointed Celtic symbol for luck. I am seeing the stars. I'm seeing sort of the compass rose. I'm not really seeing the moon. Maybe the moon is the one that is very bare with the stars around it. Looks like an island. Could that be the moon? This is all there is of the rug. There's no more to see. It's not like I cropped it, right? I showed you the page. This is what it looks like. So it's another beautiful story. Here's a close-up of it. This is what the pattern looks like. Another lovely story. Let's move on to the next one because I've got my eye on the time as well. This next one is my, oh, wait a minute. I am out of sequence. Hold on just a second. The next one is my favorite, but that's not it. Oh no, I hope I didn't skip this one. Oh my gosh, I hope I didn't skip this one. This is my absolute favorite. You know what? I don't want to bend the page. I'm going to put that table into the page. I'm going to save that because if I skipped it, we can look at it later. We're never going to get to all these tonight anyway. And I do want to share, I know this is an unconventional, episode, but I do want to share all of these because this is our history. And this book is not available. So if we can get it out here on the show, and if you're working on any kind of projects or you want to do replicas of some of these rugs, well, here they are on the screen. Pause it, print it, whatever, right? And recreate it if this is part of our rug cooking history that you are interested in. So I skipped over that last one. Let's look at this one. This is called June Days, like the month of June. From the great iron-bound chest of family treasure secreted in the plantation burial vault during Sherman's march to the sea, and after long litigation, only recently released for sale, came the amazingly fabricated rug, which was the design source for this beautiful reproduction. Its design being as cleanly fresh and softly beautiful as a mellow June morning. It startled as that mellow June morning that it startled the auctioneer's audience. Firth deemed it appropriate to name this unusual reproduction June Days. So let's hear how this one came into being. The story of the finding of a rare hooked rug, which was the inspiration for June Days. I'm going to kind of read ahead on this one because I want to be sure we don't say anything bad, right? This has potential to have words in it that, let's see what happens. During Sherman's devastating march to the sea, many of the old Southern families hid their household treasures in any way possible to keep them from being seized or destroyed by the ruthless Northern armies. Some had okay. I'm just going to scan forward for a minute. Okay. I'm going to read the word because it's here, and we are aware that slaves existed. I don't want to whitewash that. Some had their slaves bury this treasure in great chests, and others, in their haste and fear, hid such as they could not take away in the family vaults. When peace was proclaimed, they intended to return to their homes and reclaim these valuables. The particular family with which we are concerned never did return. The ravages of war and the general misfortune practically wiped them out of existence, and the blackened ruins of their plantation houses were left undisturbed until about 1900, when some surveyors seeking title for the property sought out such members of the original family as they might be the heirs. Diligent search brought forth several distant cousins, and the upshot of it was that a long drawn out legal battle ensued for possession of the land. Genealogists who inspected the family vaults in the interests of some of these litigants discovered that several of the chambers were sealed up without epitaphs as to the remains contained. Through the broken corner of one of these chambers they peered and were surprised to see a gleam of silver. Their curiosity got the best of them, and they pried out the slab of marble. Within this tomb, and in several others later examined, was found the family treasure hidden away during the Civil War. Less than a year ago, the slow processes of law settled, and the estate and this long cached parcel was put up for auction. Family silver, china, and such linen as was not destroyed by mold and age were offered up by an auctioneer. A Firth artist who watched the impersonal disposition of this much prized of this much prized property musingly realized that these things might have been the lovingly tendered gifts to some charming bride of yesterday. gleaming in the soft June morning as they graced the table at her wedding breakfast. He was brought from his musings to seeing the man take from the chest a magnificent hooked rug. It was as delicate and soft as a summer breeze, and beautifully worked and colored in an unusual flower and leaf pattern. He had never seen a hooked rug like this before. Evidently, the avid audience was equally interested, for it was only after the most spirited competition that the heirloom was knocked down to him at a figure very flattering to the person who had lavished so much care and skill upon its creation. Firth has faithfully reproduced this beautiful design in character and color, and it can be seen in the June Days hooked pattern of the International Hook Group. So there is the story of this particular rug. It is a super beauty. This is a strong geometric. This really has nothing in common with hooked rugs of the 19th century. Oh, I'm sorry, I only had one of those. You know what, let me make it a little bit. I thought I did close-ups of all of them, but I must not have done a close-up of this. Hold on just a second. I'm going to keep moving it. There we go. So we can see it is a very simple geometric pattern. Not entirely simple, right? It is very tile driven. So this bears absolutely no resemblance to a New England hooked rug or a Canadian hooked rug. If it were the design alone, the rug proportion, it's almost like the Firth Company looked at what early hooked rugs look like early commercial patterns, and worked them in miniature into a larger design, alternating color and adding all of the other sort of geometry fill that needed to be added to fill the background. I mean, doesn't it feel like that on most of these rugs, that you can pick out an original hooked rug that is an early rug, and they have just repeated it and fluffed out the background? I mean, that's how it feels for me. It is super beautiful, but these don't look like hooked rugs anymore. These look like enormous commercial rugs, and in essence they are. But it's interesting and beautiful to be able to see with your eyes a close-up of what this looks like, because you could see if people are hooking this, if they are indeed hooking these, right, and they seem to interchangeably be using the word hooking with weaving, and that's always worrying with these early periodicals, because it's like, do they understand that there is a difference, right? You do wonder. So I don't know the answer to do they understand. I don't know the answer to how are they manufactured, and I have not seen one in person. I'm seeing what you can see here, the pictures of them for sale in the catalog. So I can't say for sure whether they are being hooked, but I would say that looking at this rug and all of the previous rugs, you can see how this would work as a rug hooking pattern. Now, it would have to be on an enormous scale to be able to get this detail, right, in a smaller size, right? It would have to be an enormous rug. But you can see there are lots of opportunities for directional hooking and for hit or miss hooking. Hey Dave, good to see you. Hiding from the heat, I don't blame you. Here too, it's crazy. So another beautiful rug, and another example of what we're seeing a lot of. So I feel more sure than ever. I was pretty sure in the first paragraph that these are made up stories, but I'm absolutely sure now. I'm going to change my mind and say this one is my favorite one. It doesn't mean we're not going to return to the other one in the future, but I got to say I think this one is my favorite one. It's nice looking at the book in person because I can see the rusted nails in the middle, you know. This one is called The Cottage. See if this has a story that is worthy. Let's do it. Why not, right? Let's do it. Let's be complete about this. So I'm going to show you this rug called The Cottage, and the blurb for it says, many generations of sturdy feet have trod. Oh, when you come back, can you bring my other glasses? Yeah, you can see I'm struggling with these because they're not quite, these are like 2.5s. I think I need 3.5s right now. Yeah, the green one's on that table. Oh, thanks. Awesome. These look awful, but I'm going to be able to read a lot better. Yeah. Okay. The Cottage. Many generations of sturdy feet have trod the surface of the original of this rough-hewn provincial hook design, and the owner's appreciation of its elemental beauty is shown by its careful preservation over a long period of years. The crude facilities of farmhouse laundering have served to mellow the strong vegetable dyes and to blend the shadings of the various fragments of cloth and homespun yarn which have been worked together in the tedious construction of this original piece. So let's come back over here. This is the tediously constructed piece that we are referring to. This piece is called The Cottage. And here is the story of the woven treasure which furnished the inspiration for The Cottage. And I will show you a close-up of this in a minute. Check it out with your eyes first, because while this is a simple repeat pattern, and it is way more as it is like the 19th century large rugs that we know, it is the closest to it than any rug I think we've seen so far. Having said that, it is a very unusual rug. So take a look at it while we listen to this story. It is the granddaughter of Derek White, a stern and unbending pioneer New Englander, around whom this pathetic adventure revolves. From the very founding of the colony, he was looked upon as a leader and a pillar of strength by his comrades. In his household, it was only natural that the very letter as well as the spirit of the stern laws were observed, no matter how heavily their burdens might weigh upon his loved ones. His favorite granddaughter, a beautiful blonde girl, showed disconcerting signs of an independence of spirit from a very early age. Her evident love of bright colors and an unquenchable desire to laugh and be gay, even on the holy Sabbath day, was the cause of many sharp reprimands and tears. As she grew older and blossomed into beautiful womanhood, the problem of how to deal with her became more acute. She would profanely wear a gay little nosegay upon the bodice of her somber Sabbath attire, and frequently, during the day, she would break into lilting laughter or happy song. Her most outstanding breach of accepted code, and the one that brought down upon her head the wrath of the government council, occurring during an annual feast given during the harvest by the colonists for their savage neighbors. Oh boy, sorry. I'm going to say the Native Americans. So sorry about that. Should have read forward. I would have self-edited that. So I guess we're going to hear the story of this event. A long table was set up in the meeting house, and the men of the colony sat down with the Native American braves to a bountiful feast prepared by the wives of the settlers and their daughters. It was an accepted rule that the women, while in the presence of the Native Americans, moved with downcast eyes and modest mien. It was only natural that these prim people would be shocked when they saw the granddaughter of Derek White look with languorous, smiling eyes into the completely fascinated orbs of a handsome young Native American. But it took their later discovery of her in his strong arms, as they stood in the light of the suddenly unveiled moon, to overwhelm them completely. The matter was immediately brought to the attention of her grandsire, and a special meeting of the governing council was called for the day following the feast. A long and bitter session ended with the decision that the fair transgressor should be kept in the town stocks as prisoner for a period of 2 weeks, with a sign stating the nature of her offense. On the second night of her humiliating punishment, her guard was overcome, and she was carried away into the primeval forest by the young Native American. They're using different words each time, right? So we're sticking with what's right. She had looked upon with favor. Her independence of spirit manifested itself at once, and with characteristic determination she adapted herself to the customs of their people and became the happy, I'm going to say, young woman of her rescuer. She reveled in this new freedom and indulged herself in her love of color and beauty, furnishing her wigwam and fashioning her garments with all the loveliness and charm her clever hands could accomplish. When the time came for her to walk into the sunset, she did not die, but became a tender legend of the countryside. Substantiated tradition has it that it was her hands that created the beautiful hooked rug that has come down to us in much of its original beauty and which served as the design inspiration for the cottage, for the international, obviously, hooked floor covering group. In order to make a convincing reproduction of this unique piece, it was necessary for Firth to create special roving yarns to give the subtlety. Sorry, I just looked up and lost my place. Yarns to give the subtlety of texture that was one of the outstanding beauties of the original. H had worked miracles with the old pot-boiled vegetables and animal dyes, and much patient experimentation and research was necessary before a successful reproduction of the fascinating color tones of this original piece was developed. The cottage design reincarnates the charm and appeal of the original antique to grace the home of the beauty-loving housewife of today. Well, there was a lot wrong with that chapter, but it really is an extraordinary rug. Let's look at it a little bit closer up. Oh, my mom says Jay Peterman is still online with those romantic mini stories. You are joking, but nothing like holding that narrow magic carpet catalog. No, but that's still exciting to know. I guess they're still selling stuff. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I know, I wish I saved them too. I think I did save quite a few of them. I think they're in boxes with my diaries. I really do, because I don't think I could part with them. Now, look at this design for the cottage. It really is extraordinary because this bears more in common with early American rugs and specifically early 20th century rugs, not really 19th century rugs. It's more like an early 20th century rug. These cottage rugs that are alternating geometric squares and often with simple flower shapes. So here we go. So what we're seeing in this, let me see if I have one more. No, let me make this one larger then. So hang on, I'm going to stretch this one for us for just a minute. We're going to lose quality, but it's worth it. There's a couple things I want to point out in this design that I think are extraordinary. And one of them, well, let's look at the flower squares, right? So there's only two squares here. The flower squares change direction. Do you see what I mean? And they have a wobbly corner lopped off, so it's not a clean angle, right? And I don't think that that's the drawing or the painting. I think that that's the rug. It has like a wobbly corner to it to make it look a bit amateur, right? A bit folky. So those every other row it changes direction, and I think that's really interesting. Actually, that's not true. I'm looking at it. The top, the triangle is on the right, and then left, left, and then right. So it goes 2 rows. I see. That's even more interesting because it's creating a really irregular sub-pattern within the larger pattern. Are you also noticing that there is a framework to it that is hooked in a dark color? So let me go a little bit smaller now. Let's come back out, and you can see the alternating square is like a quilt block, right? It's got the square within the square, and it's just a halved small square with quarters around. So very, very simply done. Let's look at the overall look of it again. I'll make it like this so we can see it. You can see there is an odd pattern to it. It is very, it's not irregular, but it feels irregular. It feels wobbly. It feels very unstable. And I think it's meant to look like this because this piece is supposed to look like a cottage. So in this story, they really are playing with the idea, this sort of beautiful notion that the girl, hey, hold on one second, that the girl within this strict, very uptight Puritan culture could not be herself, right? Could not enjoy colors, could not be who she was. And it wasn't until she was able to escape. Look who it is. It's my Teddy. Hey, Ted. Yeah, you having a good day, my man?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Having a really good day.
Your shirt really matches the rug we're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. You eating some cornbread?
Mm-hmm.
You know what else I noticed? Let me show you here. He'll probably be back to say hi to us. I also noticed that this rug right here, I had it behind me, but Buttons was sitting with me. Also, is quite similar to the rug that we're looking on. I just had this on my back a minute ago. That's a pillow. But it's funny and sort of fascinating that this whole story spins on the idea that this girl could not really sort of bask and revel in her natural love of color and her natural sort of happiness, right? Her intrinsic sort of joy until she escaped from this culture. So it's a sweet. It has a lot of words that we can't say anymore in it, but it's a very sweet story about a reverse escape, right? The opposite of like what we normally hear. Like she went toward this, toward the not mainstream culture. She left the safety of her culture and her people, and she found her people. She found her family. She had a chosen family instead of the ones that she came with. So it's an interesting story and it's a sweet story. Thanks, Gail. Um, yeah, very nice. But I gotta say, I mean, that this rug is just charming. And one of the things that makes it, I think, so charming is the color palette because they're trying very hard to use a faded palette from the early 20th century. These are still deco colors, right? This Firth catalog comes out during the deco period, but these are deco colors. So they're meant to be appealing to people because they are colors that were popular then for sure, right? These are not old-fashioned colors. These are not Victorian colors. Oh, this is the close-up already. These are not Victorian colors. These are colors that were popular then. But they are spinning a lot of nonsense about dyes, vegetable dyes, and animal dyes, and all that stuff. And incredibly, they still came up with a rug that is smack on the 1920s color palette. But it really is charming. And the one thing I'll say about it that's very different is that the deco thrust to it is remarkable, right? When you look at it from a distance, that irregular pattern of that flower that keeps flipping is creating broken dashes, diagonal dashes, but it's also creating sort of black and white. Your eye is reading them as black and white squares or triangles independently, right? And that is so deco. That is dead on deco. So it's a funny rug because they're spinning it like it's this old story and it's this old rug that they found, and it could not be more contemporary in design for 1925. It is beautiful. To us looking at it now, it's very old fashioned. And again, because of the year of this catalog, if this is something you like, you could certainly recreate it, right? You don't have to buy somebody's pattern for it. I would love to create patterns for this, by the way. It won't be this week, but hopefully it will be soon. Let's move on to the next one. I hate wearing these glasses, but I gotta see, right? Okay, let's move on to the next one. It is 8:22. I definitely won't get to all of these today. I'll do maybe one more big one, and then we'll look at some of the smaller ones. And how many more? Okay, let's see. One, two, three, four, five. There's five more big stories. Was that counting the one I skipped? One, two, three, four, five. There's six more, including the one I skipped that I think I forgot to take a photo on. I think the pages were stuck together. And then we've got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight small ones. So why don't we do one more big story and then we'll look at four of the small rugs. Let's do that. And I might end just a little bit early because I feel like I could still do some packing tonight. Crazy as that sounds, I think I'm going to do some packing today. But let's look at one more. Let's look at this pretty one that is called The Moor. Just skimming it again, right? Because of the period of this book, I don't want to be surprised and say something bad. So this one is absolutely beautiful. This has nothing in common with a New England hooked rug. So let's look at the image of it first, and now we can hear the story of how a rare bit of Moorish weaving furnished the inspiration for the Moor. Now, wouldn't you say that this has more in, I mean, it's not completely alien as a hooked rug. It looks Moorish, right? I mean, it does not look like a New England or Canadian textile at all because of the motifs, right? It's very exotic, but color-wise, it sort of does, and it's an interesting piece. Let's look at it first. This looks like a crop as well, and it might be that this one is cropped, that it comes as a crop, and that it comes larger if it multiplies, right? Like the same thing 2 times or 4 times over. So so this one has a sort of Spanish backbone to it. And the story goes like this. And let me show you first. Let me show you the pages first. Because the pages are really pretty too. So here's the rug, and you can see it's quite cropped. Here's the story. So this will be the last big story we do for tonight. And then you see, the illustrations are just pretty. It says a courtyard in Moorish Spain. Yeah, Moorish Spain. I thought it said Madrid, but it doesn't. So let's hear this story, and let's look at this beauty. When Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain settled down to the business of building up their country, devastated and impoverished by their exertions in expelling the Moorish invaders, they found in the loot left behind much gold and silver, precious metals, and great quantities of military equipment in stores. Such things were turned to immediate profit, and the reconstruction of the country began. However, there was much spoil, the value of which could not be quickly realized, and which included silks, furniture, screens, pottery, pieces of embroidery, rugs, etc., left behind by the luxury loving Moors. Queen Isabella, a keen judge of values and who incidentally financed Columbus in his voyage of discovery, had this portion of the treasure brought to Seville, where, after weeks of careful listing and appraisal, it was stored away carefully in one of the many villas built by the invaders during the time of their occupancy. During the ensuing years, Seville was the scene of many uprisings. The New Spain was undergoing the pains of rebirth. Records were destroyed, Isabella died, and her successor passed away. Each passing day confused and gradually dissipated any authentic information as to where the treasure lay hidden, and eventually it was forgotten altogether. History marches on, and Spain counts her centuries of growth and decline. Alfonso XIII is deposed, Spain becomes a republic. The cataloging of the royal holdings brings forth quantities of unbelievable riches. Besides the works of art in paintings and sculpture, enormously valued jewels, cachets of silver, gold, and priceless laces and embroideries come to light, showing the enormous price Spain paid for the pageantry of royalty. The appraisers finally reach an unused building in the oldest section of Seville. It is so old that it is doubtful if the late reigning house knew of its existence. This sounds lucky too, doesn't it? Its grated windows had been boarded up for longer than the oldest inhabitants could remember, and there was a legend that its construction dated back to the Moorish invasion. After workmen had removed the window boards and pried open the heavily studded door, the committee began its examination. Within, they found the once beautifully tiled courtyard littered with debris and the dirt of centuries. All of the rooms were empty, excepting one at the back of the building, the door of which was finally broken down, and a musty gray smell smote their nostrils. Here they found great bales of rugs, cases of silks, and cloth of gold. Embroideries and other handcraft were there in profusion. The bewildered committee took days to come to the end of this priceless and forgotten treasure. Subsequent investigation disclosed that this was the villa which Queen Isabella had designated as the storehouse for the spoils of victory centuries before. The practical viewpoint of new Spanish government caused many of these rare antiques to be placed on the market, and on a recent day in the commercial quarter of Madrid, before a connoisseurium audience from many parts of the world, this ancient hoard was sold. The Firth representative obtained, after spirited bidding, the extremely rare bit of Moorish workmanship, which was the inspiration for the Moor design in the Firth collection of international hooked rugs. This design is most unusual in that it expresses the significant uniting of the Moorish and Spanish schools. The use of the unconventionalized flower motifs with the Moorish fret and linear design is very rare indeed. Well, indeed. I wouldn't say very rare, but let me see if there's a larger one of this. Hold on one second. Nope. So let me stretch this a little bit. You know what this reminds me of, even more than an early hooked rug design, which it's not. I mean, we know that this story is obviously not true. This is like bonkers. But let's say that it was partly true. This has more in common, I think, with a woven coverlet than it does a hooked rug. But you can see how they've tried very hard. This is kind of square peg, circle hole design sensibility working overtime here. We are seeing something that could be a textile design, right? Like the flower parts of the geometry could be a textile design from that period. But they are working very hard to overlay a geometry so that they can produce rugs of certain sizes that can be made in certain sizes, right? So that the geometry mathematically works. We are seeing some designing that looks again more Celtic than it does Moorish or Spanish. So interesting, interesting. But we are also seeing in this design opportunities for hit or miss. You see the sort of blank stars, those tile squares, and the smaller ones as well, easily could be done as hit or miss. So that's interesting because with all of these rugs to date, we are oh boy, we are looking at rugs that that are made, to be expensive, are commercial rugs, right, for rich people to order, but they could be vehicles for sort of earlier style, more primitive style hit or miss. They could absolutely work for the person who is a rug hooker, who loves primitive, folky stuff, right? Any of the designs that we've looked at tonight would work for that. Coverlet wise, it's the changing of direction. It's, I think, also the amount of striping, right? And that can be done in hit or miss, but it's so, the dots and slashes and stuff are so measured that it does come across as needlework or loom work. And for that reason, it reminds me of a coverlet where you're seeing lots of stitches, right, beginning and ending. So it's to me it reads as a weaving. But if you love this design, right, this is a tricky one. I'm going to make it even bigger because every other square, yeah, it could easily be on the floor at Alhambra. Absolutely. Look at right in the middle of your screen, right? Let me see if I can get a better example. Yeah, this one's sharper. Right in the middle of the screen, the motif that's not the flower motif, but the alternating one, is almost like a William Morris, right? It's almost like a stylized, a few flowers or buds in the center of some like blades of grass or tall straw or leaves or something. It's very different. This does not strike me as a Spanish motif at all. But what do I know, right? I don't know the extent of what was done. I just know what historically we take away design-wise from that aesthetic from this time period, and it just doesn't. Neither the floor, nothing about this design reminds me of that time period. But I take it back. The thing that does is the shape of the tiles. That is the thing that does, not the colors. I still feel like it looks like a Celtic design where they're trying to cobble together motifs that they think like, ooh, that feels Moorish, and for me it doesn't. But shape-wise, it does read as tiled, and I guess. Oh, that scared me. I heard something pouring out. I'm thinking, is the dog peeing on the floor? No, Teddy's using the sink over there. It's a curious rug. It's a curious rug, and it's one of the more complicated designs in this book. Now, let's skip to the end. Hold on, sorry. Let's skip to the end, and I'm going to come from the back and look at some of the smaller rugs, and we'll look at 4 from the back, and then we'll save the rest of them for next time. So, the back of the rug has a section that is called the parade, and it says, continuing the pageant of international hooked floor coverings. And it always puts hooked in parentheses, which makes me think, are you weaving these, you guys? Do you know the difference in are you weaving them? Is that why you keep putting hooked in parentheses? Hooked floor coverings, which Firth has developed for your home. And these are the smaller rugs offered in the desired sizes to serve in all the many places where you would throw rugs. Where throw rugs or rugs of less than room size are needed. These patterns, too, are fruits of the same worldwide pilgrimage of inspiration. A study of these patterns can hardly fail to persuade you that one or more of these lovely islands of color should grace your floors. Hey, Suze! I have to I'm going to show you. We're going to look at this one first, but I have to say, it kind of. I mean, it's so sweet, but it kind of breaks my heart. How many? I'm just going to go along with it, right? Because I'm thinking that it was a lot of women who got these catalogs, and without being sexist, right? In the 1920s, it is going to be the men are going to be the decision makers, but women are making the are presenting the choices for things like interior decoration, right? Can we buy these curtains? Can we buy this rug, right? Men are typically at this point not interested in shopping for home accessories, right? And I'm sure there are many exceptions, but just in general, this is a woman's domain, and that gender roles are very well established at this point. So it's just funny thinking about a woman, a housewife, right, receiving this catalog or going to get this catalog, or maybe it comes in the mail, and reading these stories. It makes me think how many people, because there had to be some who really believed that these stories were true. I mean, it's like the Peterman thing, right? Like, I mean, it is like it's like heartbreaking in a way, but it must have been such fun to receive this. I mean, this must have been like, for the equivalent of like a man's, like, what do they call um, pot boilers? What do they call? There was a special name for small format paperback books that typically men would read. They were like male subjects, like spy books and stuff like that. It might have been a pot boiler. It might have been like yellow something, yellow. It's not there. But yeah, it is funny to think about a woman sitting here reading this, like, oh my God, by the light of the moon, a slender and tender slice of light led the way through the undergrowth. I mean, I can picture it, and it's precious. It really is. Dime novels, yes. Thank you, Suze. Definitely dime novels. Oh no, I lost our place. Okay, hang on. So these are being sold as equally rare um, analogs. Oh, I don't know that one, Karen, but I'm sure that's one. These are being presented in the same way. Hello, Helen. How are you? These are being presented in the same way as the larger rugs, but they are part of the parade. And I have the price sheet and everything with me so we can see what kind of sizes they were offering these in. Incidentally, the printing process with this is that the color images are stamped onto the page. And you can see that because you can see, um, again, and for those of you who are joining us later, you can feel almost it's embossed, right? It's embossed. The page before, you can feel and see the outline of the rug on the page before. So this is like a stamp embossing technique where I don't know how they did it through monoprint or what. They're stamping into the typed page. These are not separate sort of glued images in color that were attached post printing. These are actually embossed, right? So this is a very high quality periodical. There must have been a pretty good rate of sales versus, they must have been making a good enough profit that they were able to produce something of this quality, right? So this is another rug that, like all of the others, has a special story. And this rug is called Lady Fair. This one says, "Oh, thank you so much." Heat wave here too, Helen. It has been crazy. And thank you. I got this at a flea market for $5. Obviously, I had to get it. And it's like two-sided too. I'm wondering if it's ceramic. I think it is ceramic. So I'm going to be really careful not to drop it on the floor. It feels hardy. But because I did the church thing this morning, it was like a chant session. I didn't wear this dress. I wore something a bit more colorful. But I had this necklace on because I thought it looked a bit earthy. Thank you for noticing. This rug is called Lady Fair, Fair. A romantic contest between gay bohemian spirits living in William Morris's day to provide a sufficiently beauteous fabric to cushion the twinkling feet of a popular favorite resulted in the exquisite original which inspired Sun Joy. Okay, so I think this is called Sun Joy. I don't know why they're writing Lady Fair next to it. Thank you. I was so happy with this one. Yeah, look at this. I mean, tell me this is not me. So, like, this is what we're looking at, this rug right here, and it says Lady Fair right there, right? So this is very strange. But it seems like in this little paragraph, they're referring to the name of this rug as, oh no, I'm wrong, which inspired Sunjoy, number 73. Now hang on, is there another? See, these don't go, this is very strange. This book does not go by number. It absolutely does not go by number. I'm just studying it for just a second because this is, again, this is our shared history. Whatever I can figure out, I want to share with you. Now, hang on. This is very strange. You know what? We skipped a page at the beginning. I wonder if that had some crucial information, because what is Sunjoy? Like Sunjoy. It's like, is that a company, or what is that? So strange. Okay. Let me just look for one more second to see if I can find the reference. Strange. I don't see a reference to this. No, I looked, Karen. That's a good thought. It's not on the price sheet. Let me just double check. No, it's not. Sunjoy is not on the price sheet. So what was Sunjoy? I feel like we got to know now, because they're referring to it. You know, okay, so hang on. I only found one thing that might help us. Okay, so at the bottom of each of these pages we're looking at, for all of the stories that we just looked at together, for example, I'll bring this into focus, but at the bottom of each of these, where am I? Pages here, right here. Okay, now hang on. There's different text. For example, oh, the light is too bright. Come on. So you see it says star. Serial Sunjoy 24 in 4th International Hook reproduction. That's so strange. So how does that work? There must be another catalog that we haven't seen, that we haven't found yet, that works differently, because in this catalog, this rug is called, as we know, the Halifax. It says it right here. But on every page you can see Sunjoy 24 for that one. Let's look at this one. We looked at this one too. And for this one, it is Sunjoy 23 or 25. It's not in focus, but it's a different number each time. So at the bottom of the page each time with the rug that they show, it says Serial Sunjoy and then a different number in Firth's International Hooked Reproductions. So this is not that. This is called Firth Presents International Hooked Floor Coverings. This is not the catalog called Firth's Sunjoy Firth's Hooked Rug Reproductions. This is, I mean, we're being ridiculous now, but it's worth mentioning, because if you find a different document, a different periodical that is called Sunjoy Firth's Reproduction Hooked Rugs, that's going to correspond to all of the small ones at the back, right? And it's also going to include all of the rugs we're looking at today. This must have been the deluxe. You see what I mean? It sounds like the Sunjoy, what a weird name, right? Was a catalog that showed all of them. But this is the one that has a different story for each chapter. And then in the back, a few, like 8 small ones. But a big story for each of the rugs. This must have been like the super deluxe. I wonder if the Sunjoy only showed these rugs as the smallest size. You know what I mean? Because some of them they're all offered in a very small size, like 27 by 52 or 24 by 36, right? Interesting. Those are the smallest sizes for them. Huh. I bet that's what it is. I bet that this catalog, because we were just talking about how expensive this would have been to print. Oh, thanks, Sharon. He might come back to see us yet. We were just talking about how this is an expensive thing to print. Like, how could they afford to print this with all these crazy stories for any housewife, right, that wanted something for free? They probably didn't. They were probably getting the Sunjoy catalog of international hooked rugs, and maybe the premier customers were getting this one. That has to be it. Nothing else makes sense. So let's go back to Lady Fair. So, a romantic contest, yada yada yada, Sunjoy. This ingenious balancing of design is so cleverly conceived as to emphasize the subtle blending of unusual tones, which made the original rug actually a prize winner. See, this is so tantalizing because it's like there's so much more to know here. Now, I flipped this one on its side to show you so you could look at it a little bit bigger. I can see why it's called Lady Fair, right? Because it's very romantic. It does have that sort of like King Arthur, Camelot kind of feel to it, doesn't it? With all of the roses and there's a bit of pageantry. There's a feel of a shield in the center there. You see what I mean? It has a little bit of, I'm seeing like fish in the border too. It has that kind of like Sir Gawain, like early English poetry literature sort of reference to it. And color wise, it has that feel as well. So this is a very romantic carpet. They are saying that it has a William Morris inspiration, and I can see that too because he did a lot with designs that emulated like ironwork and scroll work, right? So you can see that as well. I mean, he's more famous for his kind of interlacing wallpaper designs, but this is definitely within his body of work. This kind of thing is his wheelhouse for sure. Very romantic, very pretty rug, and you know, just look at it. This is so different than hooked rugs that we see. Now, think about the 1,000,010 hooked rugs that we have looked at together on this show, and millions more, God willing, in the future. You know, they don't look like this. They have not looked like this. And it's curious because sometimes I think to myself, there is nothing new under the sun. How can you create something new under the sun? There's no more new ideas. And then I see something like this and I think, oh my God, it almost looks like a blueprint for a garden design, right? Does it almost look like an aerial view for like a formal garden, right? To me, it does. And what's so odd about this design is with traditional early rug hooking designs, certainly early 20th century, we do see geometry. We don't usually see things broken up in this configuration, right? A lot softer. This is a very blocky configuration. It looks like a garden. But typically in the middle, we are used to seeing the main motif. One flower, three flowers, five flowers, a whole garden of flowers, or a flower pot, or a primitive house. We're used to seeing the main story in the center, not the ornamentation, not the supporting cast, right? It's reversed in this design. It's actually the field around the center motif that we're seeing all the flowers, right? And that's really the most recognizable motif that our eye picks up. So it's funny that that's almost secondary. It's a true reversal, this piece. And the fact that this green, this sort of spruce green, this bluey green, is used as the green, right? There seems to be only two greens in this. And it might be that there's one, but it just looks different with navy blue next to it as opposed to white. That's entirely possible. But I do think there's two shades of green. But regardless, it is curious that they're using this spruce color because it does remind you of a flower garden. It does remind you of bushes, box hedges, right, of greenery. Very unusual, very different rug. And I'll tell you, if you want a challenge for this weekend, right, if you want one of our crazy challenges that we sometimes do on a Friday night, or tonight it's a Sunday night, sit down, draw out a classic rug like this, a classic rectangle rug, put an oval in the center like you're doing a typical, typical early hooked rug, and try to do a design where you reverse the important motif. In other words, if it's a flower rug, your flowers are not in the center. Try to do something like this out of memory and see if you can come up with something, because you just don't think to do this. You just don't think to flip this, because I would think that it would not be successful. That would be what deters me. And yet, look at it. It's absolutely beautiful. This would be a wonderful design to do as a small rug, as a larger rug. The one thing I would say about it, not favorable about it, is if this is something that you made and put on the wall, I think, Carol, right? It is absolutely, you can hook this design. I mean, you should hook this design. if you put this on the wall, I feel like it would look more like a tapestry than a rug. This truly looks like a rug to me. It doesn't really look like something that one would put on the wall. I could be wrong, and that's a personal choice thing. Also, notice the brown going through the central motif. It's really reinforcing the feel that this is a garden design. And it doesn't say it's a garden design. It says, it's based on bohemian spirits living in William Morris's day. It doesn't say anything about it being a garden design. The word garden is not in it. The word flower is not in it. Just lady fair. But the crossing of the green and the blue with the flowers around the edge really make you think that it's some kind of pool, right? Some kind of wading pool or ornamental pool in the center, a little reflection pool or something, and maybe some ironwork or statuary, and you're just seeing the whole design laid flat, right? It's so curious. It's so different. I hope, Carol, that you hook it. I hope a lot of people hook it. It's a worthy design of a Renaissance, isn't it? It does have a real Renaissance flavor. I could also see this as the cover of a book, right? And I'm sure you can too, particularly if I go like this. I mean, it becomes like the cover of the King James Bible or something, doesn't it? Uh-oh, wait a minute. My computer's doing crazy stuff. All right, I'm going away from it. It's not letting me... Oh, it's locked. Okay, it's locked. Computer's not doing crazy stuff. Doesn't that look like a book cover? Oh, Diane, good to see you. Happy Sunday. I love this. You know what? Let me just look real quick at the cost sheet one more time and see what it says for this. It doesn't say costs, but Lady Fair came in 26 by 36, 27 by 57, 2'3" by 6', 2'3" by 9'. Ooh, interesting. That would be much more of a stretch. That must have just had an extended light field, right? Because there's nothing else would have changed about it, just the stretch. And 3 by 9, right? Now that would be such a stretch. So I would assume that they would only be using the medallion center once, and they would be stretching the white field in the background. Do you think? So interesting, isn't it? These are so interesting. And let's look at the next one. These are not things that we've seen before. I haven't seen anything like this. We haven't gone over anything like this. Sorry, the quality of this one is not quite as good, but again, none of these pictures are fantastic. This is called Tamerlane. Oh no, Tamerlane. Tamerlane. Like, isn't that the Longfellow poem, Tamerlane, or is it Tamberlane? Gosh, I feel like it's Longfellow. This one says, besides the cold hand of unsentimental history, cataloging 1,000 heroic moments with one word, there is little else that a conqueror leaves behind. Occasionally, however, some delicate thing survives by its own beauty alone. From an age said to be as remote as Tamerlane the Great, I don't know Tamerlane the Great at all, came, what sort of culture is this, do you think? Like Tamerlane of, does anybody know? Tamerlane the Great came the beautiful fragment which Firth reproduced as Sunjoy number 82. So that's what we're looking at here. I have got to look up Tamerlane because all I know that from is, I think, Longfellow, and obviously I'm missing something important. Tamerlane. Oh, it's Edgar Allan Poe, not Longfellow. Edgar Allan Poe, Tamerlane. It's a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. King of Solace in a dying hour. Okay, that's going to be a depressing romantic poem. Who is Tamerlane? Hold on, we got to know. Who is... Okay. Born in... Okay. Former Emir of Timurid Empire. Died in February of 1405. Turco-Mongol conqueror who founded the Timurid Empire. See, I changed my glasses. It's different looking 1 foot away at the screen than it is looking down. Isn't that crazy? Empire in around the modern day, which would now be modern day around Afghanistan, Iran, Central Asia, right in there, becoming the first ruler of the Timurid dynasty. So this this is long gone, right? So it's not surprising. Um, this is what he looked like. Formidable. Formidable chap right there. So this rug is called Tamerlane. That is actually such a beautiful word. Um, and okay, so this is based on just the, I guess, the imagined lore of the conqueror Tamerlane. But there is absolutely no reference in this description to stylistically what the source is for this. So it seems to me that they are thinking, the designers at Firth are thinking, um, what would something that is from this part of the world, but the 1400s, look like? What kind of imagery would they be pulling from? And so they have pulled some sort of arabesques, which in arabesques go back to the arabesque is like the first symbol that exists, right? So that's quite correct. And they've also gone to this sort of continuing on the sides, east and west, this continuing connected coil. That I don't know, and I don't know the genesis of that design. And in the center, we are looking at another ancient design, which is like the convergence of circles. We were just talking about this at church today. When you cross circles and you get like that sort of orange peel slice, where two circles converge, that is another ancient symbol. And it makes a beautiful design when you have four of them and it creates a center. So these are, I think this is just kind of a composite, like a potluck of ancient designs, known ancient designs. But it's done in extraordinary contemporary colors and earthy colors at that. Karen says Sunjoy refers to an inexpensive line of rugs offered in the 1950s. I sent you a screenshot of an old ad introducing the line. So interesting, because they're referring to Sunjoy in this catalog, and this catalog is much earlier. Maybe they reprised it at some point. I'm looking it up, Karen, because I want to share it. Sorry, the kids are going crazy up there. I hope you can't hear them. Wow, look at that. Here, oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at it and I'm not showing you. Karen, thank you. That is absolutely excellent. Look at that. That is bring cool beauty into your house. I'm so confused about the years for this now. So Firth is happening since 1885. Firth is incorporated in 1885. Huh. How curious is this? The timeline just seems off for these periodicals. I mean, I suppose at the same time they could have been in print for years. I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to fit together. I feel like I need more research and I need more of these periodicals in my hands. Karen, thank you. That was really handy. Interesting. Sunjoy. It's such a stupid name, Sunjoy, isn't it? Sunjoy. I wonder if they're calling them Sunjoy because they're like fade proof. That does seem like the kind of stupid thing that people would say, right? Sunjoy, like it's a joy to be in the sun because your rugs aren't going to fade. The colors are going to stay color fast. Could be something like that. Interesting. And Sue says, the crosses in the corners remind me of a Crusader's cross. Let's look together. Absolutely. Yep, it does. It does look like heraldry or armor, right? It has that feel. And yes, the conqueror, right? It being based on the conqueror, Tamerlane, that makes sense, doesn't it? But it does feel like a composite. It does, there's nothing wrong with this rug. In fact, it's quite an interesting looking rug. Um, it's different. It's another rug like the one we looked at before, Lady Fair. It's different than anything I've seen, that's for sure. So, whether you like it or not, you have to say, for a rug that's this simple, that could be a small rug or a larger rug, again, is there anything new under the sun? You think not, and then you see rugs like this and you think, that is completely different than anything I've seen before. It's not just that the symbols are different, that the proportions are different. The center is quite small and quite detailed on this rug. Around the edges are the least complex designs and lines, but they populate the largest part of the rug. And also these kinds of squared shapes, these rounded squared shapes, the little red shapes around the edges, strange. straight. They seem to be space fillers. What's really curious about this rug is that in the background, there's some weird color fills in the background, like the dark brown, and then a little bit of that khaki green, and then a lighter tan color is filling the background. And it does make it look like an older rug that's had spills or stains or damage. So that also is curious and makes it quite beautiful, quite remarkable. Um, really, really strange. I'm going to stop there because we hit our time, and it seems like, I kind of thought with these smaller rugs that there would be less to say. I feel there's just as much, at least, to say with these smaller rugs and with the larger rugs. With the larger rugs, they're very story driven, but they tend to be repeat patterns. These smaller rugs are very cohesive as standalones. You gonna come and say goodnight to the group?
Yeah.
Okay. And that makes them curious because these are things that are very sort of, we could tackle. They're very manageable to us as rug hookers. What do you think of this design, Ted?
I like it.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Interesting. Here, come down here. I'll put it up towards you too. And I'll stay on for one more second. He just wants to say goodnight one more time. Look at that sweetheart.
Thank you, Ma. Good night.
Good night, sweetie. I'll come up in a minute.
Love you.
I love you too. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. It makes me second guess the date on this book. It really does. Hello, Ted, my sweet boy. He is so sweet. Let me see where on this book it says 1925 because I bought it, in the title it said 1925, so I figured it was 1925. It might not be 1925. And it is super deco style, which supports the 1920s, but at the same time, Sunjoy, right? I'm going to be thinking about this at 3:14 in the morning, unfortunately. It's really got me guessing. Karen, thank you for the great research you did during the show tonight. That helped move the live show along a lot, getting these bits of information as we went along. Because the fact that the Sunjoy reference numbers are printed in this periodical has to mean that Sunjoy precedes this chronologically, which is so strange. He is so lovely. It may be that Sunjoy has been around. It might be. I know his hair is crazy, isn't it? It might be that they've been around, and it might be that they've used these patterns for a long time. There's no reason to think that they were new in that ad, right? They could be much older patterns. And Sunjoy could be much older. It could be that as soon as, it could, I'm just speculating, but we know that alkaline dye, right? So we know that chemical dye came to be in like the 1880s, right? Right around then, and then a few years later, it becomes very accessible and very inexpensive, and just a lot easier, more reliable color-wise to use and to match than any natural dyes. And that's the same for today, right? You can do natural dyes and it gives you these cool mellow colors that are like nothing else. But matching is always going to be a thing, right? Consistency is always going to be a thing. So it is interesting because it makes me wonder whether the rugs are called Sunjoy because they are using an early alkaline chemical dye. And I mean, of course they're using chemical dye, but I'm wondering if it's like the early days of chemical dyeing, thus the branding of it Sunjoy, and the main selling point that it is color fast and not likely to fade in the sun, right? Because a lot of people will put their stuff right in the window or right on the doorstep or whatever. Interesting. It does make you wonder. There's a lot to think about there, and all we have is the name and the bits that Karen just pulled up, but it does make you wonder. It's interesting, isn't it? Well, everybody, it's okay. Hey, have a great night. Listen, I will be back as soon as I can. I want to do more of this together. I want to exhaust this until we've all had all of it. So if you want to copy some patterns from it or whatever, I think I will post these patterns. You can make them yourselves if you want to peel them out off of this video. This is copyright free. But I think as soon as I can, I will post these in ribbon candy hooking, because now I'm not sure. Because I'm not sure that it's 1925 until I know the status of Sunjoy. it's 1925, they are copyright free. If it's not, they're not copyright free. I will find out. And if I find that I can use these patterns, I will put them. I am so hungry all of a sudden. I will put them into. I'm so hungry. I will put them into ribbon candy hooking on backing, because you might be someone who would rather have me draw it out for you, right? Because my patterns are not that expensive as patterns go. So I'll see if I can do that. And if I can, I will do it sooner rather than later. Because I have to admit, I'm also really curious about doing some of these designs, and I might want to experiment. Earmuffs, right? If you don't like conversations about tufting guns, I'm really interested in maybe trying some of these designs with the tufting gun, or with the Danella egg beater, right? The white egg beater tool, the shuttle tool. I'd be interested in doing some of these rugs with a vintage tool. I think that would be really cool. So I will be back with you as soon as I can, but you know what's going to happen in the meantime is Sauter Village. I will see you at Sauter Village if you're headed that way. Please be in touch. If you're thinking, oh, I won't be able to reach Deanna, I don't know how to reach her, ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. I check my mail constantly because I constantly get stuff. A lot of stuff I deal with, a lot of stuff I send to other people to, who can help me with it or defer it, delegate. So I'm on all the time. I try not to miss any messages from you. ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. Joyce, I will try to figure out where we can meet, and I'll do that before I leave. I would love to see as many of you as possible at Sauter Village, because I don't go out that way often. It is a long ride for me here, particularly like while we're in the process of moving, so it's a bit of a nightmare. But it won't be a nightmare when we get together and have hugs and have a good time together, and I'm really looking forward to that. So next week, this week, I will be recording videos at Sauter Village, and I'm sure I will record a video with Shannon, since we'll be together and staying together and find some hotels to stay at together. But you'll be getting videos from me for sure, and I'll record what I can at Sauter Village. I haven't been there before, so I don't know the lay of the land. And it's new leadership this year, new everything. So we'll see how it goes, but I'll try to get some good content to you this week. And when I come back, I'll try to squeeze in a time when we can finish Firth together, and then we'll be moving the week after. So we'll have to play it by ear in the near future, and I'm sorry about that. But we are looking at settling into fall and a nice quiet time where we can work on some new projects together. Jessica says, trying tufting sounds interesting. It is a long ride. Yeah, I know, and you would know. Thank you. Dora said, enjoy the show, especially your beautiful reading style. Thank you so much. I was tripping over my words tonight. I think I am tired and hungry, but it was such a pleasure to read those stories because they are such goofy stories. Thank you for all the information, interesting writing. Grateful for all you do. Thank you so much. It is our rug hooking history, and this was a great find. I almost peed in my pants, honestly. When I constantly look at my stuff from eBay searches, and it's always boring stuff, and I saw this, and I almost didn't click on it because it looked so boring, and I clicked on it, and I started to get like the stomach cramps, like, what is this? What is the? And I was flipping through it, and oh my God, I better get it right now. And I did. I got it in that moment because I thought, we're going to feast on this. We're going to feast on this. And we will feast on it next time. Thank you, everybody. I'm so glad that you had fun tonight. It was very relaxing sitting here listening to those stories. And they were such romantic stories. So maybe you dream about some of those crazy stories when you fall asleep tonight. I will see you in a few days when I record something for you from Sauter Village. Get in touch if I can connect with you there. And otherwise, to be continued. Take care, everybody, and I will see you very, very soon.